Good morning, everybody. Okay. So, one of the cool things that this book does is she gives you activities for the summer months. So, practice physical skills like sport, dance, exercise, drawing upon the vigor of the season. Regularly assess your motivations and your use of the gift of life. Remember spiritual kindred, those whose spiritual force you share. In this busy season, make time for soul nurture. Be aware of the heroes and heroines who have made the spiritual pathways come alive for you. Plant and plan your garden. Provide a tapestry of color in the late summer and autumn. Walk in the immediate outdoors and meditate for at least a half an hour daily. Identify flowers and animals in your locality and learn about their life and habitat. Create a spontaneous dance that will physically express your kinship with the universe. Be active with like-minded others in providing support for environmental concerns, both local and global. As you travel through the country of summer, relate your spiritual journey to the bright gifts of this season. Okay, so companion of my soul, friend of my heart, in the secret place of my heart, I come to you in sacred silence. May I never forget the closeness of your presence. As the melody of summer drenches the land in its sweetness, I call upon my soul teacher to help me find the descant to the question of this day. As I start my week of work, I dedicate my work to my hands for the following. May the craft of mastery of my daily work enhance the great weaving of the universe. Liberator of souls, assist and release all who are imprisoned in spirals of violent abuse, both who perpetrate and abuse and those who receive it. May the shackles of anger and resentment be transformed into the loving bonds of peace and understanding. May the beauty of each soul blossom as the Spirit awakens all life this summer morning. Isn't that a good one? So I almost didn't use this card. I was reading through the cards and their meaning. I just don't like the title of this card, so I'm going to put that out there in the universe that I protest the name of the card, but I don't protest the meaning of the card. So the card is The Slave Dances into Freedom. You have been on a path that no longer serves your highest good. The time has come for you to be free from it. I shall free you from the negative influence of even the most persistent struggle or devastating conditions of one simple gesture. Do not be attached to the war you have endured, my beloved wild warrior. It is over by my grace. A new reality of freedom is yours. It is time to dance your way into freedom. The divine loves your fighting spirit, but you are to be protected from the long battle that could poison your beautiful heart with bitterness and leave you depleted. Instead, it is recognized that you are in need of solace, sweetness, and a sense of purposeful passion that does not dry you out, but fills you and allows you to offer healing to the world, rather than trying to bend the world to your will. You have been granted honorable discharge for karmic duty completed. Soon you will be experiencing life in a completely different way, free from the legacy of darkness that once held you, kept you trapped in conflict, and perhaps even became bitter, disheartened, and draining. That darkness may have held you enthralled in an internal pattern of repetitive suffering and struggle, or it might have been your seduction, domination, or enslavement to the power of another person or external set of circumstances. This taste of freedom bestowed shall not only be sweet, but shall be utterly complete. So there's an exercise here. We'll do this. So take a deep breath in and release. Sit quietly with the palm of your hand turned upwards as if to receive at the level of your heart. The other hand, hold the guidebook with prayer. Say the following. I gratefully receive unconditional release from the wars that have been raging within my body, mind, and soul. From my heart, I offer gratitude to Kuan Yin, who loves me unconditionally, and give thanks for the unconditional karmic grace that frees me now and allows me to experience new life. I honor the learning of the past. I forgive myself and all involvement in it. I no longer need to hold on to anything. I trust completely in the new beginning that has been given to me. I am free. I am free. With peace in my heart and gratitude in my mind. So be it. Hopefully I left you enough pauses in there to say that with me. Isn't that beautiful? There's a quality about recognizing when you're in a place where you can truly let go of the past. You know, I talk a lot about like karmic release, right? Like unwinding those karmic threads. And I went through a phase in my life where I was really worried about my own karma, right? Like I was really, really worried about it. And one of the things that I realized is worrying about it was actually harming my ability to work on anything that I had acquired. Oh, you mean worry is actually making the problem worse? Yes, it is. I should probably not do that. How do you stop worrying? Well, every time I found myself in that place where I could worry, or I felt myself worrying or ruminating or spinning on that thought, I would have to conscientiously think of, usually it was a person, right? A person that triggered that whirlpool, right? And I would think about it, and I would think about that person, and I would go, okay, if I can look at that person as an entity, I can look at that person as a light being, an entity, a soul that is also caught in a karmic whirlpool. If I can do that, if I can separate my life experience with them, if I can separate my life experience with them, and I can truly look at the underlying connection between me and them, which is they are a spiritual entity and I am a spiritual entity, which means we are both light and love. We are both light and love. And if I can get there in my mind, in my heart, in my words, if I can say, this person hurt me 100%, but now I have to reframe it. This person is an entity of light and love that came into my sphere. I gave them love. I recognized who they were as a spiritual entity. And their journey was a place where they could not give back what I gave. And that's okay, because that's their journey, not mine. And working through that karma piece means I can recognize them as a spiritual loving entity. I can recognize that I have to let my ego go. I have to let my ego, my id, all the psychological stuff. I have to put all of my stuff into this bucket of love and trust. And I have to truly forgive myself, A, for either not being able to help them, B, for my own ego getting involved. I have to forgive myself for anything I said or did that triggered them, that caused them to swirl into their own karma. I have to forgive myself for anything that I could have said or done, knowingly or unknowingly, that created karmic threads. And every time this person would come up, I would have to go through that over and over and over again, to the point where when I could finally get to the point, I do forgive myself. I forgive myself in that moment. I forgive myself now. I accept that we are both light entities and that I made mistakes. And if I can do that, then the next step is to forgive them. Forgive them for whatever it is that's going on. And some people need to do it backwards. Some people have to get to the point where it's, they are light entities, I'm a light entity, I forgive them for hurting me, and then they work on the me. I found that for me, it worked better to go from me to them. And the reason it worked for me, I think, has to do with recognizing that I have a tendency to feel really guilty and bad for things that don't belong to me because I want to help people. And a helper or a carer, one of my life themes is carer, and carer life themes are notorious for taking on other people's stuff. Because they want to help so much, they will take other people's stuff and hold it in a basket for them, not realizing that that's what they're doing. They're caring, but they're caring by carrying other people's stuff. So for me, working through that karmic stuff was very much recognizing, okay, I am a carer. When I offer help or when I want to help someone, I often want to carry them because I care about them and I want to help them. But that is not my job. I can care without carrying their stuff. So this particular card you have been on a path that no longer serves your highest good. The time has come for you to be free from it. I shall free you from the negative influence, even of the most persistent struggle or devastating conditions. This is the thing. Divine light, divine energy, the divine that surrounds all of us, that we are a little bit of divine ourselves, right? We are divine entities, old souls, spiritual entities, pick a name, I don't care. But we are a part of that. So that's why when I talk about karma and I talk about releasing, I'm talking about very much this concept of dancing into freedom of the karma either that you have created or been involved in, and releasing yourself so that you can be in a place where you are one with divine energy. And it's a little harder to pull you into those karmic threads and those karmic ties. It's a little harder to get entangled if you're constantly in a space where you can recognize that that stuff doesn't belong to you. So when things happen and you have time to ruminate about it, you can go through the process of, they are a divine entity, I am a divine entity, we are all light and loving beings together. I forgive myself. I forgive myself for the entanglement, whatever I said, whatever I did, I forgive myself. And I can allow myself the sadness and yet the joy of learning the experience of letting go, of releasing stuff that doesn't belong to me. And some things you have to do over and over and over again. I have one particular person from my childhood that I have to do it almost every single day. Every single time this person comes into my consciousness, I have to conscientiously go back there every single time. I have to come back to myself. I have to come back to myself as a child and say, my child self did not know anything other than to give joy and love to the people around me. I forgive my child self for not knowing that that person was going to hurt me. I have to forgive the child self because the adult self feels guilt. The adult self feels rage and anger and all those things, right? At that person that hurt me. But the child self didn't know any better. So I have to forgive the child. And then the child within has to be able to forgive that person. And the child self always will. The child self will go, but they didn't know any better and they were hurting and I forgive them. But the adult self is still angry, right? So I have to forgive myself in the layers of awareness of my connection to that person. And it is an ongoing thing. The funny part is that you do that enough, there is a place where there is a lifting in the physical body. There is a somatic lifting release in the physical body when deep, deep childhood traumas are worked through and released. And there are so many exercises that you can do. And this is really something a somatic therapist would be better for. But, and I highly recommend you find one if you have this problem, that there's vagus nerve work exercises, there's somatic exercises, there's lymph exercises, there's so many body working exercises that you can do, and or work with vibration, work with, like I use a sonic slider, I use music, I use a lot of things to help me work through the physicality of where that stuff has settled in my body, because the body holds on to trauma. That's the thing. And working through it mentally is really good, because then when you work on the physical, sometimes that mental stuff also starts to release in new layers. It's amazing, the layer cake of where we hide our experiences in our body and in our energy field and in our consciousness. And healing is an active participant thing. It's not Western science is amazing. If I broke my bone, I want to go to the emergency room. I'm not going to go to the herbalist in town. I'm going to go to the emergency room. I'm going to get my bone set. I'm going to get a cast. I'm going to do that. If I tear a muscle, I will probably have surgery. Like, I will do those things. But when it comes to gentle healing of the physical body, I will probably go see someone else. And there is a purpose for each kind of healing. And sometimes you just got to put them all together. And figuring that out, it takes a little time. So I hope this helped. I hope you all have a beautiful day. And I will see you in prayer. Blessed be.